yesterday. It was exceptional because you all were present here, and we are here today. With us again. Will be another exciting, impactful day. We can that you
I want to thank you all for being here. One of the fundamental things that we have realized is that there has to be a symbiotic relationship between the continent of Africa, which is the motherland, and the African American community. We haven't taken advantage of it. We haven't realized the potential of it. The African American community spends about $2 trillion every year. And Africa is always going around begging for money. We need $2 billion in China. We need $3 billion in the UAR, on and on and on. When there's a cultural affinity that's already there, African Americans are spending money on DNA testing to find out what part of Africa they're from. What else can be more evidence that we want to connect with the motherland? So this type of events, I think that it's a critical one. I think that we have to give kudos to the organizers, and this is evidenced by the quality of the people that are here. For instance, we have Ambassador Bolaji that is here, Akinremi. Ambassador Bolaji, please, can you stand up to take a bow and we clap for you? He anchored the event yesterday wonderfully, and we had a lot of people, just as my colleague has mentioned. I think that if we start from that note, I just met two young ladies that came in and they talked about coming to Nigeria and doing documentaries to show people what is present there. You cannot talk about investment. You cannot talk about what you have if people don't know who you are. People must know who you are. You have to, in advance, let people know this is who we are. We are a people, an industrious people. We're people of spirituality, deep spirituality. We're welcoming people. These are the fundamental issues of our personality. This is what we must do first. Before you start telling anybody that if you put $2 billion into this sector, you'll make $5 billion. Nobody cares, because everybody can put their money in the society where they are, where the laws are set, and not worry about you. We have a group of people who care about Africa that we must extend a hand of friendship, despite the fact that some people came and tore us apart. That was 400 years ago. But today, we're smart. There's the internet. We all have studied, and we now realize that we have to reunite ourselves with that community. So I believe that if we start on that level and appreciate that that we have, I think we can begin to realize the potential of that symbiotic relationship that I talked about. Right now, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about, because before we go in, I'm going to introduce the ambassador to invite those who are going to be on the panel. I think that sometimes it is not the number of people in the room. It is the quality of people in the room. You can go somewhere and see 1,000 people and only 2 people in that room are the ones that are going to facilitate. So I believe that the facilitators are already there in the room. So we shouldn't look at this as, oh wow, it's supposed to be 1,000 people in that room, but we only had like 40. No, the quality of those who need to hear are already in the room. They're already in the ambience. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the ambassador to come up and set up the meeting for the panel that are going to be talking about, I believe, if Mr. Tunde Alabi, I believe we're going to be talking about women empowerment, and that's going to be quite an interesting topic that everybody can get engaged in. The fewer we are, the more we can engage and ask questions and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Good morning, everybody, and I hope you slept well. Is that right? Oh, good to see you here again this morning. And I'm going to get instructions here now. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Great pleasure to be here again today. And thank you so much, Mr. Tony Abulu and Madam. Where is she? Oh, good. Wonderful introduction you have done this morning. As we were coming here, we had the privilege of meeting one of the heads of the Honorable Minister of State for FCT. And they assured us that they're just trying to do one or two things. They're going to join us. So I know that the hall is going to get fuller and fuller, you know. But we have to do whatever we need to do very quickly, because I know some people will be going to pray, okay? So we must be sensitive to hall faith, and thank you for being here today, okay? We're going to be taking presentation from the NIPC, that's Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. They'll be speaking to us. Ajia Wakil is already here, but I'm just going to ask her to put finishing touches to their preparation and readiness, while we probably once again ask everybody to move forward from the very back. My very good ladies. Hello, sis, could I ask you to move? Let's all occupy the first 3 rows, right from the back. Mr. Shubomi, where are you? Mr. Shubomi Okeo, we also like you to come forward. Madam, please come sit next to me here. Hello, excuse me. Come sit next to me here, please. Yes, please. And the lady too. Come. Right here. Because I'll be coming there and I want to sit beside you. Good. Keep coming. No, keep coming. Sit right here. Right here in the front. The 2 of you. I got my guests together now. Good. Is Mr. Okelwo still around? Okay. Now I think the floor is set for you now, Madam Wakil. Are you ready? This lady of honor, I would say, manages the institution that oversees the management of investments that come into Nigeria. We in Foreign Service are the window. We are the first contact that you meet. When you're coming from abroad, we go around doing everybody's job. The Foreign Service is a jack of all trade and master of all. We do trade, we do art and culture, we do everything. But when you come into the country, someone sits on top of that management of the portfolio. They go out to join us, but they cannot be perpetually outside, you know. We work outside 24 hours, okay? And today, managing that in the Consulate of Nigeria is Ambassador Abiola Franklin Ogunyemi. Ambassador is the consul in charge of economic trade and investment. And so he joined hands with all the organizers of this event to make sure we have a good program. But from the Nigerian front, we're having a captain here today. And it's my honor to introduce my sister, Ajia Wakil. Ajia. Good.
Thank you very much.
Come on.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I actually prepared a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, so that we can be looking at a project and looking at it while I'm doing the presentation. But that arrangement has not been made. So I will talk through the presentation. And it's just to present Nigeria in terms of trade and opportunity, trade and investment, opportunities, policies, and investment opportunities. So for the benefit of, I think most of us know Nigeria, but my paper was prepared for Nigerians and non-Nigerians. So I start by saying that Nigeria has 36 states plus the FCT. The Minister of FCT was here yesterday, and they did presentation on the FCT. Actually, this presentation would have preceded a discourse with the states, because the program says that once it's a national as well as subnational presentation. So Nigeria has 36 states. We are located in the Gulf of Guinea on a land size of 923,000 square meters. And we have a population of 206.1 million people as at the last count. The population trend is such that we are young population. 50% are very young, from 1 to 15 years. So that makes it a growing population. That makes it a growing market for investors. It is expected that by 2050, Nigerian population would have exceeded that of the US to be the number 3 largest country in the world after China and India. Nigeria also has the largest economy in Africa. From the trend I have here, 2018 to 2022, it's been growing progressively. We had a dip this year to 2.5% of GDP growth, but it's been from $335 million of GDP to now $450 million. But we hope that we will cover the projection of the UN as presented. The investment policies of government, which is what we need to educate people about. The current president has a renewed hope agenda that has 8 focal points, among which is economic growth and job creation, inclusiveness and ending poverty, improving security, all the ingredients that you need to fast track the development of an economy. And the policy direction is such that we've already experienced fuel subsidy and tax reform. We know that. Government plans focuses on power sector improvement, all the infrastructure, including rail, ports, to be improved upon. What has been started by the previous administration will be continued. And this government hopes to address the security challenges through surveillance technology. We had human capital development in the agenda to include STEM, that's science, technology, mathematics, engineering, and mathematics, in the program as a future plan of government, so that we will be in tune with future activities. Because now it's more science and technology, more of ICT. So the program curriculum, school curriculum will be improved to include those. And the government targets 6% GDP growth annually, with better management of and better management of the exchange rate. It's already been started. The dual exchange rate has been eliminated, and we now currently have, well, something better than before. And it's a disruption, but we hope that this thing will stabilize within the year to arrive at the correct exchange rate. I also have the laws that guides investment in Nigeria. We have the Companies and Allied Matters Act, the Nigerian Investment Promotion, which I represent, the Act, the Immigration Act, Foreign Exchange, what we call Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, the Investment and Securities Act. These laws guide the conduct of business in Nigeria, and there are supporting sector-specific policies and acts, as well as international investment clauses that in the AFCTA, the ECOWAS, the IPPA, DTA, all those are investment clauses that guide or support investments, conduct of investment in Nigeria. Some of the policies that current, actually, like the Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Act. The Nigeria Investment Policy was recently launched together with the trade policy in this 2023. There was the NEFZA Act, the Petroleum Industry Bill, which is now an act, the Nigerian National Quality Infrastructure Policy 2021 to 2025. There's a NOTAP Act, which is National Office of, for Technology Acquisition and Promotion Act that guide also the conduct of business. The most important, or in particular, the one of particular interest to this group, which I'm supposed to be talking to investors, is the Nigerian Investment Promotion Act, which liberalized the Nigerian economy for private sector participation and provided for investment guarantees and facilitation. Next, I'm going to talk about what Nigeria does to support investment, mainly by providing or incentives. Incentives are numerous. We have a very robust incentive regime, but they are contained in a compendium of investment incentives. I believe my colleague here has the document that has investment incentives in Nigeria together with other information. I think you better grab a copy because there are so many information in that. And those incentives are covered, it's covered under 6 principal sections: investment policies and protections, general tax-based incentives, sector-specific incentives, tariff-based incentives, export incentives, and special economic zones. To mention a few of them, there is the Pioneer Status Incentive, which is a tax holiday for 3 to 5 years. There's also deduction for research and development. There is an investment tax relief, which which is for companies that have incurred expenditure to provide basic infrastructure, but those that have not benefited from the Pioneer Status. There is the Export Expansion Grant, the Export Processing Zones incentives are available in Nigeria for investors. That's just to mention a few of them. Other initiatives to support FDI is to provide basic information. We have several publications: the iGuide Nigeria, the Compendium of Investment Incentives I've talked about. There is the Book of States, which presents the comparative advantage or the competitive advantage of all the 36 states in Nigeria. Then the websites of all the economic agencies under the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. We have all robust websites that provide information on economic activities in the country. The country also has one-stop investment center under the NIPC. That is a facilitation mechanism that fast-track business entry. You can establish your company within 24 hours of presenting your documents to establish a business. And added to this one-stop shop is the OSIG Lab, which is where if a situation arises between an investor and a government agency, we convened the OSIG Lab to resolve any issue that arises from that investment. And we always say, why invest in Nigeria? I say it's because it's the greatest country in the world for me and to some people in this room. But it is a great destination, great investment destination with one of the highest return on investment you can find anywhere in the world. That is our selling point. But don't take my word for it. The World Economic Outlook 2023 has placed Nigeria slightly above average of 3%. The world average is 3%. Nigeria, IMF has retained growth forecast for Nigeria at 3.2%, although I said we have recorded 2.5%, so that that's the true position. But we may still make up the up to the 3.2% that is being projected. Nigeria is one of the 2 countries in sub-Saharan Africa with the best performance in 2022 and the projections for 2023 and 2024. That should sell Nigeria as a great investment destination. Another reason we also put forward as a reason to invest in Nigeria is the key competitiveness of the country. We are strategically located naturally, on a strategic time zone, GMT+1. We have favorable weather. We have a growing middle-class population. I have said that our population is a large and growing one. We have young, energetic, tech-savvy, entrepreneurial population, optimistic mobile population. We are resilient. We are hardworking. We have can-do spirit. Yesterday, the minister mentioned all those. So she's supposed to have done all the convincing. I am only presenting the facts as they are. We have a huge on-field demand, improving business climate, abundant natural resources that create economic opportunities. The economy is private sector-led and have a sophisticated financial market system. That's one reason we should consider Nigeria as an investment destination. And thirdly, we are truly the ideal gateway to the African market because we are more ready to leverage on the AfCFTA. Due to our large domestic market, Nigerian companies also had footprints across the continent. It's unfortunate it's not projected. You would have seen all the companies, Nigerian companies that are in other African countries. We also have basic infrastructure, as inadequate as they are, but the basic infrastructure is available to move goods and services, so we are better placed to reach the other African markets. We also border about 4 countries, which is also another access to the other African markets. And from Nigeria, you can go to any part of Africa within a 6-hour radius. The Minister of Aviation yesterday was saying investors should come and invest in Nigeria so that we can move within the African continent without coming to Europe before going back to Africa. And from Nigeria, you can reach any of the African countries within a 6-hour radius. Now to the biggest thing what we want to present is the opportunities so that investors can take advantage of it. We only selected a few, starting from the agric industry. The agricultural industry is the mainstay of the economy, although we are known for oil, but the Nigerian economy is driven more from the non-oil sector. And agric is one of it. There is opportunity from primary production to processing to marketing, to provision of logistics, all are opportunities in the agri sector. And we have the land and the favorable climate to support this if there is any investment in that. We have 34,000 square kilometers of arable land or usable land. And that is an advantage one can take to do agri investment in Nigeria. For the solid mineral sector, there are proven 44 different solid minerals in proven commercial quantity that one can take advantage of. 7 has been identified by the government to contribute to the economy. And yesterday, I think we had added lithium. That was not in the original 7, but my minister mentioned lithium as one of the solid minerals that the country will take advantage of. And opportunities exist in quarrying, gemstone, trading, mining, smelting and refining, trading metal exchange, mining training school, and prospecting and exploration of all the minerals that we mentioned, of the 44 minerals that we mentioned especially the 7 out of it. Then opportunities in the health sector. Yesterday, again, my minister harped on the health sector. You cannot be a happy people without being healthy, and opportunities for the improvement in the health sector abound. And she was even appealing to the Nigerian Americans to use their experience in this country to go and establish in Nigeria. What we have listed, some of the opportunities that we have listed for the health sector is medical parks and super specialist hospitals, health infrastructure and technology, e.g. electronic data, EMR analytics, and telemedicine, drug manufacturing and pharmaceuticals, safety equipment, expansion of molecular laboratories, diagnostics and trauma centers, ambulance services, and mobile clinics, among a few of the opportunities in the health sector. Oil and gas, we don't need to emphasize on it. Every individual knows the opportunities in the oil and gas, but we can mention the petrochemical and its value chain as an opportunity, fertilizer production, and methanol, etc. in the oil and gas sector. In the power sector, that is one key area of deficit for investment for general living condition. The statistics are that there's a huge gap between demand and supply. And we have identified several sources of power production. Hydro, we have identified like large hydro and small hydro. These large hydro are about, wow, I don't have a glass here. The large hydro is about 26, or the small hydros are about 26. Sites have been identified in the Mambila, in Lokoja, in Onisha, in Makurdi. Those are the large hydro sources that have been identified, and there are smaller 25 ones that is capable of producing only 10 megawatts. But the large hydros are capable of producing 14,000 megawatts for renewable energy. That is aside of the gas sources that we currently use. There's also opportunity for the sources as sources of power. The wind speed is 2.6.5 m, measured at 10 m wind speed. The daily sunrise for solar is 48 hours. And in biomass, we have like 1 ton, 61 tons of animal waste that we produce yearly. All those can be used for power generation. ICT is an area that we have a little capacity. In Africa, out of the 7 unicorns, 5 are owned by Nigeria. So we have a little capacity that we can matchmake with American technical expertise to further develop the ICT sector in Nigeria. And we have listed some of the opportunities to include provision of telecom services using the 3G, 4G, and WiMAX technologies. We have the provision of support services to firms operating in the industry, local manufacturing of information and technology components, provision of broadband services, expansion of terrestrial, undersea, and satellite network, investment opportunity in ICT research, development, and training are some of the few areas that we can do investment. We selected only these few areas because they are in a part of the priority sectors of government in the National Economic Development Plan, but there are opportunities in several other sectors. Yesterday, the Minister of Aviation mentioned, the Minister of FCT also mentioned, which are not covered under this 504 we have mentioned. Then I will conclude by telling the investor obligations. The NIPC Act I was referring to provides that Nigerians and non-Nigerians can invest in any sector except those on the negative list. There's no segregation between a Nigerian citizen and other citizens in terms of investment in Nigeria, except where this negative list is concerned. And there are only about 3 items that has to do with military and psychotropic substances. The law also guarantees that no company can be nationalized or expropriated at any level of government. If there's need for that expropriation, there's right to access to courts and fair and adequate compensation if acquisition is in the national interest or public interest. There is no restriction on repatriation of funds from Nigeria, which can be done in any convertible currency, so long as you use approved agents. The availability of funds has been discussed even at the presidential roundtable. There was the issue of availability of funds for this transfer, but the government is working on it. The Minister of Finance was asked by the president to answer a question on that because somebody asked on the availability of or liquidity to be able to transfer their profits and dividends back home. And it was said that something is being done and it will be done very soon. Then there's the provision for dispute resolution through amicable settlement or provisions of the bilateral treaty, the IPPA-DTA that I have talked about, and the right of recourse to international arbitration under ICSID rules. And the obligation on the part of the investor is that he must register his company with the Registrar of Companies, which we call the Corporate Affairs Commission. And where a foreign investor is concerned, they need to also register with the NIPC before he can commence business in Nigeria. And that can be done within 24 hours, like I mentioned. Some of the things we do as government agency to assist investors is to assist them navigate the business environment, assist with connecting prospective foreign investors with domestic investors. We also facilitate discussions with government agencies and policymakers. We assist with relevant information to achieve an investor's investment plans, and we facilitate investors' inputs into policymaking process. We resolve challenges faced by investors through the OSIC Lab, as I said. Thank you for listening, and that's the end of my talk.
Good job. Huh? All right. I guess that was a good job by Ajia Ghana. Yeah. We'll be asking questions from her very soon. But before we do that, I wanted to bring up one more person who will be speaking on renewable energy. I think we've not spoken about that yesterday. And yesterday we called the CEO of NESCO, New Energy, Mr. Mohammed. I think he wasn't in the hall at that time, but he's here today. May I recognize you, please? Thank you so much. So permit me to welcome Mr. Shubomi Okeowo to speak quickly on renewable energy. He will tell us the details as he comes up, okay? When you finish done talking, I will be standing you here with Ajia Ghana for questions. Please come up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Okeowo Olashubomi, as I've been introduced. I want to stand on all existing protocol. And before I say a word, there's a joke. I don't know if it's a joke, but if it's reality, of a friend of mine who went with me to the laundromat in London. And while we put our clothes out for washing in London, the attendant at the laundromat was a white man who was checking in all the clothes one by one. And so while I gave him my shirt, he would record it a shirt, he would say 2 pounds. Trousers, he would say 4 pounds. Another shirt, he would say 2 pounds. Trousers, he would say 4 pounds. Then, surprisingly, it got to the set of clothes as my brother here in the front is dressing. And then he saw the shirt, which in Yoruba, in the Hausa culture, we call the buba. He called it a shirt, and obviously billed me 2 pounds. Then he saw the shokoto, that's the trousers, and also billed me 4 pounds for it. And then the last piece was the agbada, which we also call the babariga in the Hausa culture. He picked it out and looked at it and looked at it and looked at it for a while. He didn't want to embarrass himself. He didn't also want to ask me. He just said, parachute, 55 pounds. Well, so I want to thank everybody. I'm just going to speak quickly and on renewable energy. We've not really spoken about that all the while. Just before I came on the podium, the last speaker spoke about the energy and the amount of energy we have in Africa, especially in Nigeria, culminating from the sunlight, which is almost like we are in summer period all throughout the year in our own part of Africa, which is Nigeria centralized. We don't have any business with fossil energy as Nigerians. And on this podium, I want to throw it out to some of us who are investors, some of us who have the keys to investors to come over and look at the technology we can use the sun to harness. Today, there are companies all over America driving cars around powered by solar. And the light here, the sunlight here is not as much as we have in Nigeria and as we have in Africa. Also, about 65% of all the houses in California, in America today, are already going solar. And from the indices and the numbers I've seen, if your bill of electricity in a month in America is about $250 to $300, if you're on solar, you're probably paying about $25 or $30 a month. Now, if they are saving this amount with this little amount of sunlight here, how much more we in Nigeria? Now, so many things bedeviling us as a nation. I've heard some yesterday. One of them is our refineries are not working. And this has also put pressure on dollarization, on the dollar, exchange and stuff in our country. And I wonder, why do we even need petrol to power our vehicles? I have a brother who is the chairman of one of the biggest car selling companies in Nigeria called Metropolitan Motors. He's also part of us here. They sell cars powered by petrol. And I'm sure the last time we spoke, they're already thinking about electric cars. Today in California, electric cars are about, I think 3 or 4 out of every 10 cars driven in LA. Today in New York, 2 out of 10, we checked it on Google yesterday, is a total of 5% already. Now, if these cars are successful in this part of the world, how much more we in Nigeria that we have free sunlight? And this sunlight can easily power lithium-ion batteries. So I'm here to tell you, the future is now. the time to invest in Nigeria, the time to put power together and come to our country is today. We can do better when we when we join our forces together from this part and us there, and the technology can make life very, very easy. We have 230 million people way back. The amount of cars driven in Nigeria today is about 22 million or so. So if we can power our cars, our vehicles, our transportation system generally with the free sunlight, underline the word free, then we can save a lot of money. So we're throwing it out to you people over here. Come to our aid, bring the technology, help us. Help us. We need technology. We need the technical know-how. We are ready for this type of development. And of course, our youths are there. A lot of them are not employed. It's becoming a pandemic. If you can come over and nest with us, the free sunlight that we have in that part of Africa, I believe we have the energy and our youth are always ready. And I'm not putting this on the men alone or the business owners, and I'm also throwing it out to women. There is so many things we can do back home using the free sunlight. Years back, the technology surrounding the solar industry has always been around the panels. That's what we call the panels on the roof. We call it solar. Then the internal one, which is our inverters, back to the batteries. 3-4 years back, the technology has not been improved. But today we have what we call the, what's that thing called now? Mono panels and all-in-one inverters and batteries. And the batteries are now coming as lithium-ion that can store energy and power an entire house or entire business place for as much as a month. So the time is now for the technology to come into our country, Nigeria. And then lastly, it's also important that the energy that we use or the energy that we generate is clean. It's very, very important. Every part of the world, we're talking about, what's that word now? Pollution. We're talking about the greenhouse effect. We're talking about the El Nino. But when we use the free sunlight, it's clean energy across board. I'm sure we've all seen a Tesla car before. No single engine and no single emission whatsoever. This is the kind of future we should be talking about in Africa. This is the kind of future we should be looking at as a country, like Nigeria. We need clean energy. We need a clean society, and we also want our society to be like New York, even though New York is still considered as, But as I conclude, I want to share some data with us. FCMB as a bank, First City Merchant Monument Bank, I think, they have about 184 branches nationwide in my country. Out of 184 branches, about 124 branches today are being powered by solar technology. I also have the Sterling Bank. They have a height, I think about 74 floors. It was almost considered impossible. Today, Sterling Bank in Marina is also being powered by solar technology. That means it is a possibility for every one of us. And the energy that we generate in sunlight in that country is much. And I'm pleading, more like pleading, that everyone listening to me, if you are an investor or you also know 1 or 2 people that want to, and the market is there. 230 million people, you can never get it wrong in Nigeria. Whatever you're doing, whatever business you're thinking about, think green, think solar, and think renewable energy. So as I round up, I want to say the earth years back was a better place than it is today. The amount of emissions cars bring out and factories throw out into the sky, I don't think we can sustain it as we go on. So it's high time we come together as a people of a particular race and invest in green energy and also look into replenishing the parts that fossil energy has also destroyed. Thank you very much.
I believe Mr. Kao has spoken from his heart, and the next person I'm calling is likely to do the same thing. She's a lady. We introduced her yesterday, but she wasn't able to speak at all. Today, she's going to be very brief because, like I said, we want to be sensitive to everybody's faith. And some people will be going to pray shortly. So I want to call on the CEO of Resource Petroleum and Petrochemical International Incorporated, Madam Donite Lee. She's going to bring us a goodwill and tell us what she's investing in Nigeria. And then the three of them will feed questions just for about 5 minutes. Come up quickly and make your presentation. I can help you. Is that good for you?
Yes.
Good.
Hello. Distinguished guests and everyone, welcome. I believe that Nigeria will become and shall become the trade center of the world. We may have our eras of struggle. I have had it, and I have overcome. And when I stood in the Lagos Ikeja High Court, I said to the judge, I will be back. Today, I am back. We have redesigned our conventional refinery that we expect to start construction on November 17 in Akwa Ibom, Ibino, Nigeria. There have been lot of struggles, but when you are patient with Africa, you will be rewarded. And if you are doing it for yourself, selfishly, you won't get anywhere. But if there is a spirit of oneness where you're doing it for growth and development of Africa, you will succeed. And in spite of all the negatives with Nigeria, we have so far invested over 200 million in our project. And there are other areas that we are looking for. And I just want to take a few more minutes just to say this. Our off-takers are Nigerian companies, not foreign companies to come and save Nigeria. It is Nigerians that are going to save Nigeria. And I stand here today and I want to encourage every Nigerian, whether you are casual labor, federal government official, state leaders, that you have to be the one to promote you, invest in your country, and grow your own country, and hone your own assets. And I believe in that. Finally, there are other areas that we have interest in. It's within the mining industry. And my challenge be, especially for the women in these industries, that in any country, any nation, our women are most important. And we can't forget them. And what we need to address as a people is the socio-economic development. Not just economic development, but the social aspect of it, where we include the communities, the families, the neighbors, the women, the husbands, the friends, and children. Thank you.
All right. I love to keep my promise, but you know, I have bosses here. And when they instruct me, I have to keep to their directives. I've just been told that the ADB is here represented, Africa Development Bank. And speaking on behalf of the ADB will be Madam Ando Mensah. Mr. Ando Mensah. Oh, and he happened to be a friend. Please come up here. Come up here. He's a fellow resident of Abuja. And even though he's no longer in Abuja, but at least he was once with us in Abuja. And today we're having him. Please come up. After that, we'll be taking Mrs. Gloria Tinubu to speak. And then we'll be wrapping up with questions. Okay? Are you ready? Yes. Okay, please come up. All right.
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Yes. My name is Ando Mensah. I'm not only from the African Development Bank, but it looks like I'm the only one from Ghana here, so your neighbor. Yeah. I work with the Industry and Trade Division of the African Development Bank. I am actually not with the AFAWA team, but since I am the only one from the African Development Bank, I will try to say a few words, share with you what the bank is doing on a program called AFAWA, Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa. Why the AFAWA? Why the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa? We've been here the last couple of days talking about small and medium enterprises, the importance of gearing them up, the contributions they make to our economies, almost all developing country economies, and specifically African economies as well. So why did the bank undertake or create this AFAWA program? I have a few notes. Since I'm not from the division, let me share my notes from you. Women are the backbone of the African economy. I don't think there will be any challenges with that. Africa has the highest number of women in business enterprises. When you look around our economies, you go into our towns and cities, this is very evident. When you look at typical African countries, a quarter, 25% of adults running business are women, according to our studies. Women typically invest between 10 and 90% of the income in education, in health provision, nutrition of family, and all the other important positives compared to about 40% of men, who do business. Essentially, women invest. Women investments are basically the ones that transform our economies from the ground, basically. But women face a lot of challenges in accessing finance, in accessing credit, and all the critical aspects of making a business work. There is, according to our study, a $42 billion gap in financing for women businesses in Africa. And about 15.6 billion of that basically it's lacking the agricultural sector. So the African Development Bank decided, obviously with consultation of our member countries, women, and all those in the business to look at something. The African Development Bank is one of the institutions that really look at fundamental institutional improvement changes. Yesterday, Madam Kanayo Awani from Afrexim Bank spoke a lot about what the Intra-African Trade Fair, which she's executive vice president, is doing. A lot of the data she presented is very, very accurate in a lot of the work we do. So the bank, our bank, African Development Bank, or your bank, decided to look at 3 critical areas to support women in business. First of it is an enabling environment. The fundamental objective is to really de-risk the mechanisms that has really stalled financing for women businesses. And through that, basically be able to improve the conditions for women who are in business. Women are seen all around our banks, our local banks, as a risk. When banks, they go to banks for money. They lack collateral, guarantees, and also the local banks up to today don't really understand the mechanisms of how to really deal with women in business. So the bank decided that we will set up some technical advisory services that helps, number one, not only the women in business, but also the institutions, both national and private, that help support women businesses to thrive. What has the bank done to date in some of these areas? The bank set up a $300 million fund, which is the Affirmative Action Fund, and so that we can unlock $3 billion in credit. So basically, leveraging $300 million into about $3 billion that would be used towards supporting women businesses. And to do that, we had to build on the building existing networks, building something like a rating system to evaluate the quality and evaluate the viability of an African businesswoman. So basically, we're talking continental, we're talking institutional, Nigeria included. If you look at the African Development Bank, one of the things it does, I said, is really look at institutional reforms, foundations that are breaking the back of successful businesses and everything. If you look at trade, African Development Bank set up the Afrexim Bank to really look at trade by itself. And today, the Afrexim Bank, as most of you know, is doing fantastically well. The African Development Bank continues to support Afrexim Bank between $500 million to $1 billion every year, on a rolling basis, so that it can really do for trade what it must. If you look at the area of infrastructure, the African Development Bank set up an organization called the Africa 50, whose work is really to look at how to mobilize financing into African infrastructure development, so that we've got an agency which is just targeted to that kind of thing. If you look at trade insurance, the ADB as well set up the Africa Trade Insurance Agency to look at this as well, so that, and we continue as an institution to support these agencies to help the continent move forward. So this is, the AFAWA is really a program which is, I believe, 2-3 years old. So we're still really moving on it. What is the bank's footprint at this point in the AFAWA? Just this August alone, about last month, about $1 million was approved for grants to women businesses who need specific types of technical assistance in management, in financing, in business development, and all those other aspects. Up till now, about $42 million of trade technical assistance grants have been given to women businesses. About 96 financial institutions across the continent are benefiting from AFAWA solutions. And financial institutions, I mean the microfinance banks, some of those local banks which are really targeted to agricultural and even some social development type of investments. About 32 countries to date out of the 54 have received our help to date. And about individually 6,193 women, business women, have received financial assistance just this last August. So the bank is really moving gradually on this approach. We don't think this is inclusive enough, and we're looking also to really expand it to include all sectors of businesses that women are involved. If we look at the spread of the region where AFAWA has reached, 32% AFAWA has reached West Africa, 32%. I think West Africa leads the support in getting support from AFAWA. 22% for East Africa, 12% in the South region, 6% in the North, and 5% in Central Africa, one of the difficult places to reach. Some of the banks which we have gone through up to date, banks you know about, EcoBank, Stanbic Bank, FCMB, Nigerians who know this. And we're looking to expand the network of banks and in all locations, particularly the remote areas where we can, the bank can reach. And one of the advantages of this is that when the bank approaches a bank in a sort of a trade finance angle, the bank also agrees with these financial institutions to control interest rates, to make sure that these banks are not riding on the backs of infant industries and women who are trying very much to bridge the gaps in the business sector. So to conclude, I talk about a call for action. For everyone here, we'd like you to mainstream, the bank wants you to mainstream AFAWA into your operations. Think about AFAWA, become an AFAWA champion in your own sectors, and also look out for upcoming call for proposals where support is being provided. And that is easy by always going to the African Development Bank's website, afdb.org, and basically I conclude with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Of course, I now know why I thought you were a lady, because you are going to speak for women. And I think this is one of the most brilliant talks we've had here today. Thank you so much for speaking so eloquently on affirmative finance action for women in Africa. Okay. Now, let me recognize Laura Seneca for being here today with our friend, Webster. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm calling on Madam Gloria Bromel Tinubu. But before then, as she comes up, come up. I'm also recognizing our husband, Engineer Soji Tinubu. Thank you for standing with her. Okay? Please come up, Mama.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Ambassador. With all protocol observed, I thank you, Sister Lee, for your remarks. Greetings to all of you who've gathered here today, and I also want to thank the speakers from yesterday, particularly the Minister of Industry, Trade, and Investment, the Honorable Dr. Doris Uzoka Anita. The light went off. I'm not sure what happened here. I extend gratitude to Babatunde Makalabi, Dr. Remy Duyeli, and the other organizers. I want to extend special thanks to my dear friend, Dr. Babs Onabanjo, president of A.D. King Foundation, whom I've worked closely with over the years, particularly with his Nigerian Chancellor Project on Entrepreneurship in 2015, where I shared how Nigeria's universities, by becoming entrepreneurial, could lay the foundation for internally generated revenues by supporting Nigeria's SMEs and entrepreneurs. Since nearly 40% of the challenges faced by SMEs are human capital related, with markets, government, finance, and infrastructure making up the remaining 60%. Nigerian universities are uniquely qualified to support SMEs for future prosperity of not only Nigeria, but for Africa as a whole. But before sharing a little bit about our company, let me take a few moments to tell you about who I am. I was born on a former plantation in South Carolina, now called Brook Green Gardens, near Myrtle Beach. Many of you might have been to the coast, which in its heyday was the largest plantation in the United States. I would later spend my teenage years on another former plantation, Milton Hall, working with my mother as a cook and a maid. It was there, while walking barefoot in those fields and feeling the dirt between my toes, that I communed with the spirits of my ancestors, unknown, and most of them unknown, who were enslaved in this country. So much so that my mother said to me, "Now don't you go marrying an African and have him take you away from me over the ocean." Smiling with teeth so bright he could blind you like the sun, Prince Adeoye Olusoji Abayomi Tinubu greeted me in the post office of Clemson University in South Carolina. I'm going to embarrass him by saying he was sporting his plaid green and yellow pants with a cowboy-inspired green and yellow shirt that was exactly color coordinated. And I still have that image in my mind today. But in spite of his outfit, we became instant friends. This was about 4 years after my mother made that declaration to me, and that was some 48 years ago. How did she know? How did she know that deep in my soul, I wanted my children to be reunited with our ancestral home and embrace their African heritage? How did she know that I wanted them to be able to trace their lineage as far back as they cared to, at least on one side? Why did she think that I would one day marry an African who would eventually take me over the ocean to Africa, in this case to Nigeria? Despite her declaration, it was much to my mother and father's delight when Sarji prostrated, his chest on the floor, when he came to my little rural town of Plantersville to ask for my hand in marriage. He said he felt very much at home and that our little village, which we call Bromell Town, after my great-grandfather who bought the land in 1883, he said it reminded him of his little village called Emurekiti. Not having seen anyone prostrate before, my parents, without hesitation, said, "She is yours." 47 years ago, we married in our front yard. I made all the clothes, including his. We cooked all the food, and our invitations were word of mouth, much like the drums of Africa. Today, we have 4 adult children, ages 44, 42, 40, and soon to be 38, and 7 grandchildren, ages 3 to 17. I say that I claim that I have been investing in Nigeria for 47 years. This is an example of investment in Nigeria. I believe the ancestors I communed with some 50 years ago are smiling. This is who I am, a daughter of Africa, wife, mother, grandmother, sister, auntie, cousin, and this is what I do. I have over 40 years of experience in community economics, Sister Lee, community economics, which is socioeconomics. I have a PhD in applied economics with a concentration in natural resources, a master's in agricultural economics, the first African-American woman to obtain that degree from Clemson, and the first African-American woman to obtain that PhD from Clemson as well. And Engineer Sarji Tinubu is a son of Christ School, Upschool, with over 40 years of combined experience in senior management, contract management, project management, construction management, engineering design, project controls, and once served as the director of the largest transit project in North America. That's Engineer Tinubu. So in closing, our company is GBT Associates. We are economic, education, and engineering consultants. Through our services, we empower under-resourced, underserved, and environmentally stressed communities. We help serve communities engage in community economic development. We serve rural and urban areas, governments at all levels, colleges and universities, regional development authorities, nonprofits and businesses, and faith-based organizations. We empower everyday people to transform their local economies through our community economics program, which is a virtual program called Everydaynomics. It's a boot camp. We have a session starting on October 4th. We support everyday citizens, community and nonprofit leaders, public officials, faith leaders, business leaders, students, faculty, and staff. We have a copy of our brochure out in the front if you would like to learn more about us. We support sustainable infrastructure solutions through civil and construction engineering services, planning, design, construction, project controls, project management, and program management. Our international impact and community engagement spans Africa, Asia, and the Americas. You can learn more about us at GBT Associates and at Community Economists. That's gbtassociates.com and communityeconomist.com, or you can just, I don't want to be obnoxious, but you can just Google me. All right. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here with you.
Very good one. I'm qualified to call you our wife.
Absolutely.
The African wife. Okay. Wow. I think it's getting better by the seconds. Okay? That was a brilliant one. And thank you so much, Madam. Well, for everyone who has spoken today and those who had floor yesterday, we want you to please send us a copy, including this very poetic presentation by Madam Tinubu. We want you to please send a copy to our online for the mission of Nigerian Consulate to be able to put this together for our use and for future, for posterity. You can send this to, I'll take it now, and I think Ambassador Guyemi is going around to speakers already. Please write this down. This is the address the email address that you will send your presentation to. F as in Francis or Franklin, dot OGUNYEMI at Nigeria, NIGERIA, together, house, NigeriaHouse.com. Or another one, Temi Able, which is TEMI ABLED, ABLE. That is Temi Able at yahoo.com. We want you to please send photographs and speeches that you have made to that address, and including this very poetic, yes. The first one is F. Ogunyemi at NigeriaHouse.com. All right, beautiful. I was going to introduce, and I think I did before, the CEO of NESCO, and we wrapping up, like I said, with a panel. I'll introduce them to bring them up so that you could ask questions from them also. To coordinate that for me will be Mr. Ty Balofi. Mr. Balofi, where are you? All right, please come up here. Also, Mr. Murphy Ahmed. Murphy Ahmed, if you're in the house, just wave your hand. Or Murphy, please come up there. You can use the other side to come up. Yeah. And Colinos Babalola, I haven't seen him today. Is he still around? By the way, I saw the High Commission. Oh, he's right there. Okay. Apostle, good to see you. And I think I saw the High Commissioner of Nigeria to Canada a while ago. He probably stepped out, and I also saw his Lieutenant, Ambassador Obioma. He also stepped out, okay? And of course, very distinguished lady, Donette Lee. You want to come up quickly? Thank you. And of course, Lady Remy Duyile. You want to come up here? And finally, Joanna Fabikun. Johanna, please. Are you the one? Okay. Do we have enough seat here for everybody?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay, please come up the vault, come up. You so sure of that?
Yes, sir. I think that. Hold on, let her come.
Okay, I'm going to ask, please take your seat. Everybody take your seat. Let me be sure the seat goes around. Said.
All right.
Okay. All right. So now this session is only 5 minutes. And so each of you have just 1 minute. Okay. So now, Mr. Balofin, you have the floor, please. Introduce your topic, and then, because after this, we have the section by Afro Exim Bank.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. You're welcome to this session.
No, you are not introducing again. Just go straight. We met them. Okay.
Okay. Yes, again, good evening, everyone. My name is Tai Balofin. I say good evening. Sorry, it's good afternoon. And we only have 5 minutes.
It's evening in Nigeria.
It's evening in Nigeria, so this is worldwide. I'm going to invite Murphy Ahmed to tell us a bit about what he's doing and how his business can benefit Nigeria, and where there is mutual benefits between him and Nigeria.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone in Nigeria as well. I want to thank the
I
organizers.
don't think your mic is working. Can you move close to the mic?
Hello, testing.
You can share my mic.
I think this works perfectly fine. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon and good day to everyone in Nigeria. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me and hosting me here. Thank you to the ambassador for driving this program. In terms of Nigeria, I think this is a very pinnacle point in the world for Nigeria, both from two perspectives. One is that you have a chance to actually drive a lot of economic growth for the world. You have a tremendous, well-educated population that is pretty much seeking to thrive across many different sectors. With some of the talks that have been driven throughout yesterday and today, a lot of conversation both from an economic perspective and a trade perspective, you sit at a unique position where you can actually drive different types of macroeconomic change. Coming out of COVID-19, we have a number of different changes going on in many parts of the Western world from both a global macro perspective and a monetary policy perspective. And what that means is interest rates have been going up, and that means that a lot of companies have been crimped in terms of how they can actually strategically benefit in terms of growth, opportunity, and execution. Nigeria is poised with all the various different both natural resources and then human talent to actually, and I may be speaking to the point that my gentlewoman spoke just a moment earlier, where Nigeria is going to be on the global stage. And this is an opportunity where a lot of both products and services can actually be produced, not just for the continent of Africa, for many parts of the world. There's a lot of let's call it a trade readjustment that's happening between either both the United States and China, as well as perspectives of how things are going to be changed from the World Trade Organization. The G7's countries have been meeting, both their finance ministers and key economists, in terms of how to actually transform things based off of the higher interest rates that have been driven various different supply chain challenges and a number of other things that have been happening, both from a geopolitical and geoeconomic perspective.
10 seconds, ma'am.
Bring this back to for Nigeria, where I specifically sit is where I can conduct a number of corporate strategy and blitzscaling activities. And in 5 seconds, blitzscaling is taking organizations and enabling them to operate both faster and more effectively.
Thank you. I'd like to call Professor Remy Duyile to give us a perspective in 1 minute, please.
Greetings, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. The Nigerian project is not just a showcase for me, it's real. To make us rise as Nigeria again is very important. As a diasporan that has been here for 40 years, formerly a vice president of a bank, have also been in academia, own my own business. This project, when we have conferences like this, I'm looking for results. I'm looking for impact. I'm looking for what's the next step. So this is not just something that will end here. And our consulting firm partnered with AITE to be able to put this together. So I'm excited that I partnered with a great company from Nigeria where we are about results. So you will see us again. So if you need to check me up, like the beautiful lady said, you can Google me, Remy Duyele. That will show a lot. I don't have a lot of time to speak, but I'm very passionate about Nigeria, and I know we can do a lot together. So as a Nigerian, someone reminding us that it can be done is not news to me, because we've done it before, and we're ready to do it. I just call on all the diasporans. For once, let's be real about results. Let's be serious about making impact and having functional results that will change the narratives of our nation. Enough is enough. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Joanna Fabicon to give us our perspective.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joanna Fabicon. I am the head of corporate communications for Echo Atlantic City, which is an emerging city in Lagos, Nigeria. If you're familiar with Nigeria, I'm sure you're familiar with the project. The project initially started as an initiative to save the coastline of Nigeria, which was formerly Bar Beach. We lost a lot of land due to coastal erosion, which is not just an issue in Nigeria, it's an issue a lot of places are facing globally. So my company was brought in to, first of all, restore the land that was lost into the ocean. So out of 10 million square meters, we've so far reclaimed 5 million square meters. We've secured that land with a wall, which we call the Great Wall of Lagos. This wall is not only protecting our project, but it's actually protecting Victoria Island and some parts of Lekki from further erosion and flooding, which in the past caused a lot of damage. If people are familiar with the IMB building, that was very iconic in its time. This building was destroyed and left dilapidated for many years. We're now seeing a lot of economic activity return, not just to our project, but also to outside the project on that Ahmadu Bello Strip, again, if you're familiar with Nigeria. So we are reclaiming the land and putting in international standard of infrastructure, road network, bridges, underground sewage systems, water treatment plants, and power. We are then selling that land primarily to developers who are building high-density developments. We also have areas for villa plots for personal residents. So if anyone is interested to find out more of the investment opportunities, please see me after and I can go through any of your questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to call on Mr. Babalola Cornelius from Canada to give us his perspective.
Thank you so much, Prof. I really appreciate and thank you so much for this opportunity of, allow me just to say a few words. For over 30 years, I've been into advertising and corporate promotion. I ran one of the first indigenous advertising company in Lagos for over 20 years. Center Spread Advertising. I was the first chair and CEO of Central Spread Advertising, and there I handle all the corporate business promotion for creative concept advertising. And I was so delighted to meet my brother from ADB. For over 15 years, I was a consultant to African Development Bank. In Ottawa, I'm in business. I am the president of the Canadian Nigerian Business Network. I'm a pastor of a church and apostle of Christ, and still in the business of promotion. in early January this year,
10 seconds.
we organized a trade and business forum in Canada early in the year. I'm looking for opportunity to collaborate with anyone of like minds, especially as we are here this year. I would like the opportunity to take this to Canada, if possible, next year, and to collaborate with the beautiful people that have put this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Donay Lee to give us a little more. We had, that would be just 1 minute more to just give us a little more of expectation from Nigeria, from your stables. And while we do that, I recognize Honorable Tunde Doherty, all the way from the United Kingdom. You're welcome, sir.
Hello. My name is Donnet D. Lee, and I'm the Chairman and CEO for Resource Petroleum and Petrochemicals International, Inc. This is like a icing on the cake that I baked earlier on. And I want to say this, that I believe so much in Nigeria, whereby we have sold on a commodity offtake agreement and engaged 3 Nigerian banks for $3.9 billion in offtake agreement. I believe that we reach a time where we just need to either shut up or put up. It's too much talk with Africa, and they come and they promise and nothing happens. And all that they want is Africa resources. I am using this platform to say to Nigeria, to say to Africa, value your resources, because that is all you have for your people. My company is a Nevada registered US company. We have subsidiaries in different African countries, including Nigeria. But my passion and my love and my care for Nigeria goes
10 seconds.
beyond our expectations. And 1 minute, 1 second, sir, I want to share this, that Nigeria has the best palm wine. And thank you.
All right, thank you very much. This is quite interesting. I also would like to hear 2 more perspectives. I'd like to apologize because this is very important. We have a special dignitary here, which of course I will bring Mr. Sheyi Tinubu. Please come forward. We want to hear your voice. And Ajia Urera Musa, please, we need you up here just for 1 minute so we can hear your perspective. Mr. Tinubu. Yes, sir, you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My wife said that they just want to hear my voice.
Stand by. 1 minute.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Soji Tinubu is my name. Currently based in Atlanta, Georgia. You've heard from my wife earlier. I've been in Atlanta now for almost 46 years. I'm a practicing engineer. I was solely responsible for the transit system in Atlanta, MARTA. I've been there from inception to date. So witnessed all of the design, planning, construction, and maintenance. And after our contract ended in Atlanta, my company sent me to Miami, Florida to support the transit system there. And from Miami, moved on to Toronto. And the project my wife was referring to earlier is the Toronto Transit project, the Light Rail Transit project, which then was a over $10 billion project. And that is still going on. For those of you familiar with Canada, you probably are aware of the Eglinton Corridor project. Okay, that was my project. I was on that program for about 5 years and then came back to Atlanta and eventually partnered with my wife to put the engineering consulting piece behind her company. That is GBT.
Mr. Tinubu, how can Nigeria benefit from this initiative?
Nigeria is benefiting already, to be honest with you. In fact, while in Canada, in 2011, I was in a conference like this, and I presented a paper. In attendance at that conference was Governor Fayemi of Ekiti State. And essentially, I was focusing on the rehabilitation of the rail system in Nigeria, but focusing primarily on the Western region segment. When I say primarily on the Western region segment, as you all know, with network, once you have the nodes, you can tie to anywhere in the world. So I laid out a conceptual plan and presented it. Governor Fayemi took some of that and took it over to Dawn, the Dawn organization that was coordinating some of those.
Fantastic.
So some of that.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. We really appreciate that. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, but we are going to engage you and get more information and see how we can make that happen. Okay. I'd like to call on Ajia Urera for just 1 minute and Honorable Tunde Dorati 1 minute, and that's it for the day. No?
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hurera Musa. I'm one of the organizers of this event. And how I came to being part of this is my passion for seeing that women and youth in Nigeria are being empowered, especially when it comes to skills. I've been in this country for 30 years. I own a cosmetic brand, and I'm a typical example of hope, because I lost my mother at birth. I was raised in an orphanage for 9 months. Later on, adopted by my aunt, and she raised me. I'm Fulani, and Fulani is typically people that don't go to school. We are Ruga settlement, but I fought. I said I wanted to go to school. At that time, it was unheard of to allow someone from a Fulani background to go to school, but I was lucky enough, my aunt allowed me to go. And you know, why I'm saying this is to kind of tell you someone's trajectory and why I do what I do. So in case I'm taking you back. So when I that, fast forward, came to the US, went to school. Before I could finish college, I fell in love with makeup. I started working in a department store, later on nationally, internationally, to resigning and owning my own makeup brand. And I look at it as, for me to come from Ruga, literally from orphanage, to be here and to be dealing with what we call in America, the 1%, it is not my journey. It is for me to take what God had blessed me home. So in 2012, I started with a school in my village to empower young girls and young boys with 22 kids.
10
now we have,
seconds.
No, I know why I'm going to, I need to land, because it's important, you know. The thing is that we can talk all here, but what can we do individually to make a change? That is what is important. It is really, really important. We get hunger talks every year. But I think what we need to do as individuals, like the Minister of Trade had said yesterday, we should also own it and start doing something. And that's how we can get these investors to come to us. We are brilliant people. We have ideas. but we need people to understand that we're not beggars. We just need partners. And 2019, I realized everybody depends on finding government jobs. I came together with like minds and founded a foundation that is spread all over northern Nigeria. We use our own money to empower youth and women on skills. We pay $5 to $100, depending on how you're blessed. But we've empowered over 4,000 youth and women. She's one of them here. And we are about to empower another 3,500 youth and women. How I got to the consulate is because we can't do it alone by giving $2 and $10. I need partnership where I can bring real change, which we have lands, we have youth, we have ideas, where we can have sustainable agriculture, sustainable businesses. We do not want to sell our raw materials anymore. We want to manufacture it and sell it so that we can scale the employment. Thank you so much.
Honorable Tunde Doherty, 1 minute, please, and that's it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just stand on existing protocols. My name is Honorable Tunde Doherty. I have too many parts that I'll just summarize a bit of myself. I'm a biochemist by my first degree, and I'm a British certified project management practitioner. I'm into politics, and I'm a true Nigerian activist. I'm a part of the board of Nigerian Progressive Professionals. We are here to talk about Nigeria, what we can give to Nigeria, how to encourage Nigerians to hold on to their nation. And we are here to let you know that we have a lot of Nigerian professionals all in the world that are doing very well. And with this idea also, I'm in politics. I'm the chairman of APC in United Kingdom and chair all the diaspora chapters of APC chairman. So I know that this fora will connect the real resources that is necessary to move our nation forward. Don't blame the politicians. Don't look at the talks, but look at what you can do to make sure that Nigerians get the best in business. Nigeria is the next destination. I tell people, the Goshen of this world is Nigeria. You can't beat that. Go to anywhere in Nigeria, put anything there, it grows. Go to anywhere in Nigeria, even in Ife, you see the water flowing. By the time you pull the water side by side, you can see gold. So Nigeria is waiting for you. The world relies in Nigeria, and Nigeria is the best destination for business and economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Tunde Doherty, very much. I'd like to thank Murphy Ahmed, Cornelius Babalola, Donette Lee, Remy Duyile, Joanna Fabico, Mr. Tinubu, and Mrs. Tinubu, and everyone that participated today. I'll hand over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A round of applause for them, please. All right. We're taking one more, and this is very important because this has to do with agriculture, okay? And also from a very important international organization, investment banking, okay? I'm talking of Afro-Exim, investment infrastructure, especially in rural agrarian area, to boost the export. This will be handled by Marilyn Ngoyi, CEO FEDA. And I think she's right here. All right, please come. Please come. Please put your hands together for her.
Thank you very much.
You want this one?
No, this is great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending. I know it's been a long week, and you must be very tired from all of the meetings, all of the speeches. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Marlène Ngoyi. I'm the CEO of FEDA. FEDA stands for the Fund for Export Development in Africa. It's actually the impact investment arm of Afreximbank that I'm sure you know very well. So Afreximbank is based in Cairo. It's been in existence for 30 years. Today, it's one of the largest development finance organization with a balance sheet of $30 billion, offering all kinds of solutions to different partners on the continent, including in the agro business. So we'll have short-term facilities, guarantees, long-term facility, CapEx investment facilities. And a few years ago, they decided to say, well, while debt is a very important tool that has been helping Africa develop, they realized that there was a need for more patient capital. So when you're entering very ambitious projects, you cannot worry about having to reimburse your banker the next quarter with interest and principal payments. So they say we need to have another financial instrument that accompany the ambition that we have for ourselves and for our clients. So this is when FEDA was created. We're currently managing $700 million across different fund initiatives. Like I said, all of this capital is deployed as equity or quasi-equity. And what we try to do is we don't have a template of an instrument we use. We really look at each situation and we're able to offer a tailored solution based on the particular need of the project. So that's the first thing. The instruments are different. The second thing is, as an investor in a business, we are a partner. So oftentimes we will sit on the board of the companies, on the different committees to accompany the strategic initiatives and the growth. So it's about patient capital, but it's also about we're going to be there on the board, put the best board members. They could be from the FEDA team or elsewhere to make sure that all of the plans that we're talking about actually gets realized or adjusted and get supported by the best people in the world. I think we're here to talk about investments in infrastructure in the agribusiness. As you know, for many, many decades, a lot of people have been focusing on Africa's mining resources, the gold, the diamond, the coltan, the cobalt, the oil. But what we're discovering is that when you look at the map of the world, agribusiness is extremely strategic. There's nothing more strategic than food. Try to go, you can go a day without electricity. Try to go several days without food and you'll have literally social unrest. It's extremely strategic. And when you look at the world today, you'll see that America has lower its output in terms of agribusiness, and they tend to rely on Latin America for future food need. You realize that Europe, they have enough to sustain themselves. They don't export a lot except for very premium products. And then you have the giants, China and India, huge population, and with the land that they have, they will not have enough arable land in the next 10, 20 years to feed themselves. So Africa becomes key to feed the rest of the world. That's something that's very important to understand. We are strategically extremely important, particularly to the Asian countries, in terms of having arable land. So that's something that we must exploit. We must first exploit it to feed ourselves. There's still food crisis in a lot of parts of Africa. But that also can be something that we export to the rest of the world. And as I mentioned, there is nothing more strategic than that. So we have to be very cognizant of that. When it comes to, as an investment fund, when we look at, where can we intervene in the agribusiness chain to make sure that we have tangible results, what we realize is that there's a need for infrastructure. We have a need to invest into roads, but not any roads. Those roads need to be weather roads. So that means the roads that can resist the heavy rains that we see. I'm sure we all here, you've all have heard of roads collapsing due to the rainy season. We need to now think about what's called weather roads. We also need to think about small roads that can connect rural areas to the main infrastructure so that they can actually have a way of exporting their outputs. We have to think about water. Agriculture is about water, and we're very lucky that we have a lot of rains in Africa, but it's those are seasons. So you have to think about storage facilities for when it's not raining, for when it's dry. You have to think about boreholes, about wells. All of those things are extremely important. Without that, you can't go anywhere. I think that as you think about commercializing, and that's very important, to treat agri as a business. It is a business, a strategic one. We just mentioned that. And the important thing is to say, like any business, you have to be able to provide a product of quality. So we need to have quality centers that can test the input. So that would be the water, etc., as well as the outputs. That's another thing that we find to be very important. Another thing is, as any business, you need to have data. You need to know about pricing locally, regionally, and across the world if you are exporting across the world. And so we believe that an investment in ICT is very important. So the three things, really, if I had to summarize it, that we find are very important in terms of agribusiness infrastructure investments: roads, all kinds, appropriate weather roads, are very important. The second one would be anything that has to do with water treatment, borehole, wells, water testing, very important. Quality center, very important. Storage facilities, because with storage facilities, you can have different crops and you can sell when the time is right to sell. You're de-risking yourself. And then, so this is the theory, and I'm going to give you some very concrete example, because that's, for those of you who know Afreximbank, you know that we are a very ambitious development bank. We are very concrete, so, you know, there's the words, but then there's the actions. FEDA has just been started investing in 2021, and I can tell you that already at the FEDA level, we are one of the investors in a company called Arise, which is it's a company that's that has been developing industrial parks across the continent. You know, they have the wood business in Gabon, but when you start looking at Togo or Benin or other places, we're starting to transform cotton, we're starting to transform soja, we're starting to transform cashew. We've put significant amounts. So FEDA, we've invested $85 million last year. The bank has been a lender to the business for hundreds of millions of dollars to develop all of these parks across Africa. And what we find very encouraging, again, is to say we are organizing the full value chain. So we're working with the farmers to help them produce high quality products, bring it to us, so that we process it and add value so that we can pay them a fair price. That reassures them to say we have a serious business that's here, close to us. They're buying 100% of our output. They're helping us with quality. And they're not just exporting the raw material, they're processing it. So I'm very proud to say that, for instance, a few weeks ago, and you can probably find it on the internet, the cotton from Benin, which used to be just exported as raw material, has been transformed into T-shirts made in Benin and sold. If you live here in the US, you may know a place called Children's Place. It's a store that sells clothes for children, and they've exported their first cargo to the US. That's what we want to see, because if we continue to export raw material, that's very little of the value. A T-shirt that costs $10 at Children's Place, if you're just exporting the raw material, you've only earned a few cents. Why would we do that? So what you want to do is to earn the full value. You want to earn the $5 and let the final distributor earn the rest. Why is it important? Very important. Why? That allows you to, number one, have more skilled job. We don't want just people in Africa picking cotton. We want skilled factory workers. We want designers. We want all of that value chain to start being in Africa. Those are the jobs that we need to provide. If you have more value in country, you're paying more taxes. Those taxes is what's used for education, for healthcare, for the infrastructure that we just spoke about. So we need to start retaining that value on the continent, and so on and so forth. So this is really very important. So when we start talking about value add export development, that's what we're talking about, is to say we want to retain as much value in Africa, as much skill set in Africa, as many jobs as possible in Africa, and all of that. So that's one example with the RISE that we're very proud of. And we've been doing it across, like I said, many different verticals. They're going to be starting in Nigeria as well. And that's very encouraging. That's what we call value-add export development. The second deal that we've done, which I'm very proud of at FEDA, back in 2021, we invested in Mauritania. Mauritania is a country where not a lot of people invest. We had a very strong company. They used to be traders. You know how it is in Africa, you just import products and you have the distribution system and you just sell them. It was food products. And we said, we don't want this anymore. Why aren't we able to produce what we eat? It's not complicated. There is no reason why we should be importing frozen chicken from Brazil. It doesn't make sense. Think about your grandmothers. My grandmother, she always had chicken in her court. There were eggs. We were able to do these things quite easily back then, and we've forgotten that over the past 2 generations. We're now literally counting on other people to produce our food when we have everything on the continent to do so. So we said to them, and that was their ambition, we're going to start producing locally. So we're now producing eggs locally. We're producing meat, chicken locally. Even the feed, because one of the most important costs of actually producing chicken is the feed. Even that can be produced locally. And only the pieces that we don't have on the ground will import, but the most of it has to stay in Africa. And I'm very happy to say that, so FEDA has put $20 million to buy the equipment. We have gotten a loan from Afreximbank, which is obviously our parent organization of 20 million. So that's a $40 million investment. But with the $40 million investments, we will have enough capacity to essentially provide 25% of the eggs and chicken needs in the Mauritanian market. We're now moving to dairy product as well. And the ideal is to say once, because for me, my goal, and I think the organizer spoke about it, and somebody else spoke about it. We don't want to just be talking year after year after year. We need to start doing. I'm hoping, we know that we're not going to be able to solve everything, but I'm hoping that as people see it, they realize that it's not that complicated. Like I said, those processes, we forgot how eggs production, chicken production, dairy product production is not complicated. And we have an opportunity today, because we have been behind, to do things at the best standard, state of the art, to do it ourselves. The skill set is there. People come and train you. And so a lot of it is the psychological barrier where we have to say to certain things, stop, we're not going to do it anymore. We're going to be able to do it ourselves. So those are 2 examples of FEDA investments in the agri-value chain that we're very proud of. We're continuing to look at other opportunities in our portfolio, because like I said, it's very strategic. It provides a lot of jobs, and we hope that as people realize that this is such an important sector, people will stop trying to be lawyers and bankers and this, and will start understanding that there is a real strategic value to being involved in agribusiness. It can provide a lot of millions of jobs that we absolutely need, and most importantly, give us food security. We've all seen during the Ukraine crisis how we were starting to look for wheat in Ukraine when we have cassava that we can grow ourselves and process with meals and turn into very fantastic products adapted to our taste. So we need to start having that mentality at FEDA. I'm glad that we're able to showcase that that's possible. We're also making money out of these investments. So this is not charity. We make a very good return out of these investments, and there's nothing better than to make a good return, feel good doing it, and then have the opportunity to replicate it and scale and keep going. So those are the remarks that I have for you today. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together once again. And we've been waiting to receive from the First Bank to make their own presentation. Are they in the house now? First Bank? First Bank? Okay, I think they are at the foyer. We also like to recognize the contribution of the United Bank for Africa. We did recognize them yesterday. Are they in the house now? Mr. Jamil? Oh, you're the last man standing. Please, may we request those of us very far away to come forward, please. Please come forward. Let's see your face. You are almost the last one. And as you get, just tap him and say, come along, brother. Tap them. Come along and tap him. Say, come along. And please, let's reduce the conversation. Our brother from the UBA, we are very happy with your contribution and support for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, I think First Bank should be here now. First Bank. Now, I wanted to say this to us about next year event. I've seen a lot of proposals come to Canada. Apostle Colonials has just made that request. We've also heard that the Tinubu are pulling us towards Atlanta, you know. But I wanted to make this clarification that we will continue to have the event in New York during UNGA. So, but we will have a lot of splitters in Houston, in Atlanta, in Canada, if we cross. And I think our High Commissioner is back in the house. Again, to have you, it's a big privilege and honor for us. High Commissioner of Nigeria to Canada. Our pleasure. Thank you. We saw you right here in the morning, and then I think you've gone about some businesses. Thank you very much, Mr. Shekun. All right. Is First Bank ready now? First Bank. Mr. Mark Alabi, if you are nearby, if not, I want to run through what we have for the rest of the day. The first one will be to thank you all for your tenacity. I think those of us who have stayed the second day and have been faithful since morning really deserve our commendation. Thank you so much. Sorry, Mr. Mark. First Bank, we close it. All right. So I'm really, really excited and elated to have been the one that facilitated this event and also anchor the actual event here. I've seen a lot and I've learned a lot. From where I sit as the Director of Economic Trade and Investment in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we need a lot of collaborations. We need the interagency collaboration, which we are working out on a daily basis, improving on it, because if the agencies do not get together, a lot will fall down the cracks. We also need a lot of collaboration with the private sector. And it took a lot of, I would say, confidence and trust, you know, to be brave and courageous to actually buy this proposal when it got to our desk. And as Mr. Mark Alabi will tell you, when he's coming to give his concluding remarks that it didn't look this successful when it first came. The proposal came like, we want to go to New York. Okay, what about going to New York? And Foreign Affairs was the first agency of government that embraced them and began to write to other agencies to say, we will support this program, we'll go by it. And we went ahead to document it to the presidency that there will be no need to have another event by government at the presidential level, because we can do the private sector. And this scaled through. Because if we don't give the private sector the platform, they can run business better than government. And I can say this loud and clear, that we might not have been able to raise the amount of money that we raised last year with President Muhammadu Buhari, because we didn't take pledges yet this year. Last year, they were announced publicly because Mr. President was seated there, okay? So we had a lot of announcement. We might not have that this year, but I think in terms of coordination, in terms of collaboration, this year's event is better than last year. Yeah. I can say that very boldly because I was part and parcel of last year from beginning to the end. I was the liaison for the event also. And we had a lot. You have other head of state joining Mr. President. We had, of course, governors and all of that. But in terms of effect, I can see that this is going to go very far in terms of reach. And I want to thank you all for making it possible. So next year, God sparing our lives, we look forward to this partnership again. And I dare say that we as agencies of government will come closer together to collaborate with the private sector. So what's my charge? My charge is that the private sector should collaborate more. I saw the collaboration came a little bit late, but it was even more with the diaspora, the KPRO, the Nigeria Progressive Professionals, you know, and the Image Consulting, and all those agencies that are put together. Was very much at the late hour, but even at that, it's still very effective. So let's collaborate. Secondly, yesterday, Ambassador Shekun said something that when you hear North America, it's usually the United States, Canada, and Mexico. I think we should pull these resources together formally for Nigerian platform at the UN next year. Last year alone, we went to Canada about 5 times doing different investment, you know. You had Apostle Colinius talking about early this year. That was in January 8th, I think. And that was also a very successful event. I must congratulate you for it. I can see your program here. You've really gone far. You've done very well. Others were also here that held similar event. Dr. Sam DME, I think, was here. There were a lot of people that had program last year. We were with the mayor of Brampton, you know, were everywhere last year. I think despite all those splitters that we will have in US, in Canada, and elsewhere in Americas, we should team together, bring all those organizers together. You are into PR and you know very much about this. Bring them together to be able to hold a solid program that we can plan for a whole year. The real issue is that we'll wait until June next year before we start planning. I know a lot of investors that probably will have been here, but because their program was already booked. So if we start on time, we will get more people. We'll also be able to save money because this facility costs a lot. And that's where I give kudos to those who have chested this event because they really put money down. And if you are supporting it or sponsoring, please do that quickly. Even if the event is over, they will still have some bills to take up. So kindly help them to get this done. Finally, which is my third thought, is that the agency, particularly the NIPC, we will need a follow-up to this event. I've requested you to send your information to the Consulate General of Nigeria in New York, but more importantly, liaise with the NIPC. And if you are coming in, of course, we can introduce you, but the investment management in Nigeria is domiciled with the NIPC. That is the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. And like I always joke with them, they promote, we protect. So we will combine it. We will promote and protect your investment. We will ensure that your investment is protected. But please, let's follow up so that we can count, we can use our tongue to count our teeth to know what we've done, how far we have gone, and do spread this information to all others who probably are not here. So on behalf of Mr. President, who was ably represented by the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, I want to bring you a very warm thank you profusely, that you have done very well, and that we look forward to seeing you again next year. We've paid for this all, so if you want to stay back and do some businesses, go ahead, do some B2B and do some contact. And if you also want to take a nap, go ahead. We have more coffee at the back, tea and everything. Enjoy yourself. May I now request Mr. Mark to please come. Mr. Mark Alabi, please. Do you want to give a wave to everybody to say thank you? So after he comes, all of us are going to come out for photograph. And we're going to do that here. Some are going to come on top here. Thank you so much, because you are representing the organizers. I represent government, so I must congratulate you for a good job that you've done.
Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for answering our call. It's a clarion call to those of us who are interested, who are passionate about the development of Nigeria and the African continent. The concept that we've developed is the promotion of African SMEs in North America. Globally, we know that Afreximbank have been doing a great job with the intra-Africa trade. But it's our belief that because of the dollar component, which is a major part of our import currency in Africa, we need to expand our reach into the North American market, which is waiting for our products. Our music, for instance, Afrobeat, is conquering the world. And we believe that other authentic African products in agric, in fintech, healthcare products, can ride on the wave of the success of our music to catch the attention of North Americans. It's our belief that if we can earn more from non-oil exports, then we can generate more employment, we can reduce poverty in the continent. So we'll be taking this around the North American market. The major cities of North America will be waiting for us: Atlanta, Houston, California, Toronto, Ottawa. 2024, we plan to be in Toronto and Atlanta, and then 2025, and on. It's a 5-year project, which, God willing, and with the help of our sponsors, we hope to achieve. We thank Afreximbank, who were the first to buy into our concept. We thank First Bank of Nigeria. We thank Bank of Industry. We thank MTN. We thank all our partners who have agreed to go on this journey with us. I hope they will not be tired, they will not be weary. we are energized. We are energized, we are ready, and we need the support of more corporations, both in America and the African continent, AFDB, Afreximbank, to continue to partner with us on the journey to achieve the same objectives that those institutions are also established. I thank you very much for coming. I hope to see you in Atlanta in 2024 and Toronto 2024 as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Now, may we please rise. I now see the reason why Ambassador Ashekun described you as an audacious entrepreneur. You want to go to all over North Africa, all over North America. May God help you. Please come over here for photograph. Please stand, Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, please. Thank you. Okay, please, let's, I think we'll do the same thing yesterday. Mark and the ladies. Where is our photographer that came in the morning? And the air conditioner of class. Where are the ladies? All men being at the back. No, only 3 men are going to be here. The icon. Oh, all right, over to you. Yeah, we're going to flank the ladies so that they don't feel privileged. Yeah, I was looking for you. It's not you, I'm just, I'm no. Only the organizers now. Only the organizers. All right, today where are you? Yes, please. Yes, what is that? Where's Balotti now? Man is all okay, let's go. Okay, we got good job.